Once upon a British imperial fever dream, a group of men in suits, funny hats, and way too much colonial confidence stumbled upon a land teeming with kingdoms, languages, trade, and power. They looked around and said, "Brilliant! We've discovered it! That land, Nigeria. That moment, pure colonial delusion. This is the absurd, complicated, and slightly insulting story of how the British claimed to discover Nigeria, a place that had already built civilizations while Britain was still figuring out indoor plumbing. Nigeria. Before the Brits, not exactly a blank slate. Before Britain even looked Nigeria's way, the region was booming with complex societies. The Benin Empire had bronze casting, organized militaries, and stunning art that would put Renaissance Europe to shame. The Oyo Empire mastered cavalry warfare and political structure. The Hausa city-states were trading with North Africa centuries before the British figured out the compass. And the Igbo communities thrived with decentralized democratic systems. People were governing themselves, farming, fighting, trading, and yes, existing. But colonialism doesn't like history that existed before it showed up. Britain arrives, the discovery that was actually invasion. By the early 1800s, Britain had abolished the slave trade, but not because of pure morality. It just wasn't profitable anymore. What was profitable? Palm oil, cocoa, rubber, tin, cotton. So they turned their ships inland, set up trading posts along the Niger Delta, and said, "Let's do business, by force if necessary." The Royal Niger Company, a shady semi-private corporation with a charter, basically acted as Britain's starter pack for colonization. It had its own army, raised taxes, and crushed resistance, like a colonial Amazon Prime. Divide, rule, rename. In 1914, Lord Lugard, a man whose moustache had more power than most local kings, unified the North and South into a single colony. He named it Nigeria after the Niger River. Yes, the name was made up by a British woman, Flora Shaw, who later married Lugard. Nothing says romance like inventing a country. Now here's the kicker. The North and South had different religions, ethnic groups, systems of governance, and zero history of unity. Lugard looked at all this and said, "Let's make it one country for administrative convenience." That's like forcing a lion, a fish, and a parrot to live in the same apartment. Resistance was real and bloody. The British didn't just walk in and get handed the keys. Nigerians fought back hard. The Benin Kingdom held out until 1897, when the British finally invaded, torched the city, and looted thousands of bronzes, which now live peacefully in British museums. The Aro Confederacy resisted colonial interference and got crushed. The Ekumeku movement in the West organized secret guerrilla resistance, and the Sokoto Caliphate, once the largest empire in West Africa, was dismantled by British military force. Still, Britain spun the narrative as bringing civilization. Translation: schools for obedience, railways for resource theft, and Christianity to erase culture. Britain's real plan: exploit, extract, exit. Once Nigeria was colonized, the British went full industrial exploitation mode. Railroads and roads led only from resource-rich areas to the ports. Indigenous industries were undermined. Western education created a small elite to help manage the colony, and local traditions were replaced with civilized British systems, whether they worked or not. But Britain wasn't building a nation, it was building an ATM machine. The joke of discovery By the time Nigeria gained independence in 1960, it was already grappling with the legacy of being force-welded into one nation. The borders were drawn by foreigners, the economy was shaped by outsiders, and the so-called civilization came at the cost of stolen artifacts, silenced voices, and disrupted systems. The British may have mapped it, ruled it, taxed it, and reshaped it, but they never discovered it. Because you can't discover a place with millions of people already living there, running kingdoms and selling goods you came to steal. History roasted. So next time someone says the British discovered Nigeria, remind them, you can't discover a party when you weren't invited and everyone's already dancing.